Welcome back to Straight Facts on Wednesday. I'm joined by Judge Mo, aka Mo Gender, Dan Lawless, back on the football terrace as well. Welcome back, gents. How are you both?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. It feels like it's been a while since I've been on the channel. So yeah, good to be on. Good to see Mo again. I think he was on a show just recently. So yeah, always good to clap with you guys.
I'm happy to be here, bro. Happy to talk. There's a lot of news to talk about.
There is loads to talk about today. Mate, there's loads to talk about today. Absolutely loads to go through with Arsenal in the Champions League. Pep Guardiola laughing at measly little journalist salaries, which is crazy. We're going to be talking a bit of West Ham as well. Are West Ham fans unfairly treating arguably their best manager of the last 40 years? Is that where we're at right now? We're asking about Man United and why there's still no satisfaction amongst some Manchester United fans. And we're talking about Alonso and his summer move as well. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please get that done. If you haven't turned on the bell notifications or subscribed, what are you doing? Get that sorted right now as well. But I wanted to ask you boys a question about Man United to begin with, actually, because Sir Jim's now been, I find it such a great pun, he's been ratified, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, as the new, not 25% owner, but 27.7% minority owner. And I still don't like how they word it, minority owner. He has the biggest, he's the biggest single shareholder out of anybody at the football club. So the Glazers as the collective hold more, but he holds more shares than any one individual at the club. That's going to rise to nearly 30% with investment. But still, there are a lot of Man United fans online that are like, I'm not excited about anything he's done. There's nothing. One Man United fan I saw tweet today saying, I don't know why anybody would be excited. We've seen this before. I want to throw this out to you two. As rivals looking at Man United, have you seen in the last 18 years somebody new get involved with a club like this and start appointing people of real caliber at football decision-making level at Man United? Or am I missing something?
I think Man United fan base are an entitled fan base. Absolutely. They are an entitled fan base, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. And I spoke to a lot of them. They think they deserve something without working for it. They think we deserve something today. They want to see like, no, we deserve something today. The club made them that, because the majority of the people that are here now, our age and even the younger ones, they were supported Man United. Man United were dominating England. We're going to finals in Europe. We're one of the biggest teams. 100% they're entitled fan base. They don't want to go through a process. They don't want to wait. They don't want to have patience. They think, no, we deserve this. And because the club is different than other clubs in terms of like the signings, even in Man United banter era, if you call it this way, Man United went and signed superstars, biggest names in world football. So the fan base are like, no, we deserve everything. We're the biggest club in the world. We are the news. I get people telling me now, we are still the talking points. And Man United aren't the talking points. You know that. We know that. Man United, when they win or lose, you aren't the talking points around the world. But Man United fan base, absolutely entitled, without a shadow of a doubt. They think they need something now. They don't want to wait. Nobody wants patience. I'm not saying wait for Ten Hag, because I don't think Ten Hag is the right one. But they want like instant impact. They want Ratcliffe to get in, and they want to challenge for the league. Yes, of course you are entitled. Look, when you supported your club, 150%.
I think there's definitely reason for some level of excitement when you've been run by the Glazers as long as you have, and the sort of mess and the circus behind the scenes. When you have someone come in, and I think there's probably a bit of disappointment at the same time, because you thought you were getting, was it Qatar owners that were potentially coming in. But then when it went to Jim Ratcliffe, that was the sort of a bit of disappointment. But the fact that he's making a lot of the right noises, wants to bring in world-class people behind the scenes at every level, wants to get a director of football, trying to get the guy from Newcastle. All of these things are steps in the right direction, million miles away from Ed Woodward and all of that mess. But at the same time, you got to temper that, because, like Mo said, it's going to be a long process to turn this club around. But to just have the club try to be run better and address some of the problems, yeah, there's cause for optimism for sure. You said about the 27%, you know, individually, so he has some power. It's going to be interesting to see if he, you know, the other shareholders, you know, are going to be sort of teaming up and using their shares against it. We're finding problems with our we've got Kretinsky, who's got a large minority stake, but Gold and Sullivan family can outrule him, and he's finding difficulties with that. Is that going to happen with the Glazers? So we'll find out. But cause for optimism, but let's just temper it a bit.
So I agree with it with tempering it. I think that, yeah, there are some people. I think there's a mixture of Man United fans that are not exactly ecstatic. Some, it's I didn't get Qatari owners, therefore I'm not going to be happy. And as much as they were my preferred choice, I wasn't ever dead set against the idea of Sir Jim. Some of the stories that came out there was a story that came out fairly early on in the process that we'd have what you call like a double dip debt, where the debt would remain. There'd be no plans to pay it off by Ineos, and they'd be borrowing the money from a bank that we may also have to pay off for Ineos buying it. So of course, if that turns out to be the case, I'll be against it. But there hasn't been a single word for about 9 months about that. No single word of any of that debt being applied to the club or payable by the club since this process has got to its fruition. So I'm at a stage where I think that was just maybe a little bit of prop from a particular side. There are also individuals that do this whole, well, the Glazers are still here, therefore Sir Jim is a Glazer and I don't like him. But I think you're ignoring the vast majority of credible stories surrounding the takeover, which is they weren't interested in the end in selling it to anybody outright. Their view was, let's sell part of it. We think the value's then going to rise because we're going to give this new person the power to run it and make it a better run football club. And then when we sell off the remaining shares to that individual, it's going to be more valuable than it is now. So the frustrating bit is, yes, the Glazers are going to earn good money out of this. There's nothing we can do about it. But Man United fans being angry at Sir Jim, I find that to be such a deflection from ourselves. We're the reason the Glazers are going to earn good money because we didn't pull our money early enough. If we would have done what AC Milan fans did to their football club and boycott, the owners would have been gone ages ago. But we didn't. We fed their habit, and now they're gonna. It's going to be a very. They're going to get very, very flowery, very, very potent yield from this deal. But there's not much we can do about that. The irony is, for them to have someone buy them outright, it would have taken an absolutely astronomical bid to get 100% of the club, which will be close to what Sir Jim is paying anyway. So the irony is, yes, if somebody paid 8-9 million to begin with, the Glazers would all be gone. They still earn the same amount of money out of it. So there's those individuals there. But for me, there's a comment that came through, and it's worth not calling out, but saying, it says, Terry, you get carried away too quickly with United. You'll be hammering the Glazers once your season falls apart. This is the thing, though, into Yanan.
That's the legendary use. He's on DR Sports. I always see him when I'm on.
Okay. There we go. I've not actually seen him before. I've never come across a comment from him, but big up yourself and thank you for watching. Probably here for you, Lawless. There's a star you are out there now across the world. Look, my view is this. Last season was a great example. When we started playing well and we won a trophy, I said Man United could get back to challenging. Even in the beginning of the summer, I said, look, with the right signings, we can get back to challenging. But all of that was underscored with if new owners come in. And I said every single stream that I did, if we stay with the Glazers and nothing changes at board level, decision maker level, then we've got a problem. And there's a comment that came through from somebody else. I didn't star it to put it up, but basically says, Jim has all the money, Terry, but does he know how to run a football club? It doesn't need to know directly in and out every day how to do every single role. His job is to employ the people that do. And he said something in an interview, and I want to read this out. And this is why there is cause for optimism, not giddy, childlike excitement, but optimism. And this comment that I read that he put out just in an interview, he turned around and said, we have to look at the organization of the club because it's not good at the moment. Take the head coach, for example. He must report directly to the CEO. That is no longer possible in modern day football. He goes on to say that you have to have the right people in the right positions. Every position in management must be must be at a world-class level. And then it's important to create a positive, supportive and friendly, high quality environment. The culture was missing. So it goes on to the culture was missing before. Only in such an environment can we get the best out of the sportsman. If successful, the results will follow automatically. And I agree with him. And it's not because he's saying, it's not because it's Sir Jim saying it. It's what I've been spouting for a decade. The way we've operated has been antiquated. It doesn't exist anymore. We need top class people in multiple positions. Now, people can argue, is Omar Barada right? Is Ashworth right? That's another conversation, but I believe we're looking at really good people. And all I've said every single year for the past decade on socials is without a proper structure at board level and management level of the club, it doesn't matter who we buy and who our manager is, we will end up failing. So that's where my optimism comes from, is that we are now structuring the club in the right way. Even with our debt, we still spend more than Man City. So it's not about not having money. It's about using it properly. So I think for me, when it comes to Man United fans, I agree, don't get carried away. Lawless, I think you're spot on. Don't think that this time next year we're going to be winning the Premier League and Champions League. But there is cause for optimism because all the things Sir Jim is talking about, and the irony is this, everyone who's ever listened to me and gone, yeah, Terry's right about the cultural issues being a bigger problem than the manager, they're excited about Sir Jim. All the fans who, in my opinion, for attention have relied on manager out, manager in conversations only, and have always said the managers are the biggest problems, they seem to really hate this conversation. And maybe, just maybe, it's because they're a little worried that everyone's attention span with them will disappear if Man United suddenly don't have problems. So that's the third group of people in this. You get the ones who wanted the Qataris, you've got others that don't like the Glazers here, and then you get a group of Man United fans who only do well in this world we call social media when Man United are bad. And if we start to become a better team, they know that their goose is cooked. So I think those three combinations of Man United fans are not in a good space right now. Two of them I understand. The others, just suck it up, baby. Suck it up.
Can I ask you a question, Terry? Because you've been one of the most vocal Man United fans about pull the money from the Glazers, don't buy shirts, don't sort of, put the money into the club while they're owners. At what point for you, do you start to change your stance on that now? Obviously, Ratcliffe is coming, he's 20% owner. Are you going to wait until you start to see some of those structural changes? Or is it wait to see the Glazers gone completely? When do you change that stance?
So it's a really good question, and I am torn on it. There is a part of me now that wants to go onto the Man United website and just do a stupid amount of money on every kit that I've missed out on the last few years for the kids, for me, even buy a shirt for my dog. A part of me wants to do that because I'm someone that I used to wear United shirt a lot. When I wore Man United shirts out in public the most was after we lost. I always used to, the thing for it was like, we lost the game, I'm putting my shirt on. I love my football club and everything else. So I want to get back to that. I want to get back to financially supporting them. For me, what I'm personally waiting for is the plan to remove the Glazers. So I'm waiting to hear what the process is for him to buy them out. So if we hear, and I'm making this up slightly, if we hear that there's a 4-year, 5-year plan and every 18 months he has the opportunity to Jim of buying more shares, that eventually, and there's an agreement in place where he gets the first refusal and the Glazers can't stop it as long as he hits a certain financial obligation, then I'm willing to start putting money in because I believe we're in the process of removing them. Therefore, I want everything to go as brilliantly as possible for Sir Jim because the better we do, the more likely he is to buy their shares out. So that's probably when I would look to do it. But if we don't hear that there's a plan to get them out, I'm still going to personally be a little bit reluctant, but I need to kind of wait for the dust to settle and see what the plan is. Does that make sense? So that's also why I wanted 100% buyout because I was ready to do a kit, go out and buy everything. I was going to do a show in full kit, socks, boots, everything. I was ready.
That's got to happen now. We've got to hold you to that. When it happens, we got to see it.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. And again, when I talk about not giving money, I understand a lot of people wouldn't do it. It was just a case of, if you're not happy with how we have more control as people than we like to, we know in the UK, energy prices going up, petrol prices going up, food prices going up. We as people could stop that quite quickly. We could, if everyone just pulled into the petrol station and just drove off, everybody just stopped paying their gas and electric bills, everybody just went into Morrison's, filled up their trolley and left, then I'm not saying do it because some are going to get in trouble, but what they're going to do to everyone, all they're going to do is, but we won't do it, will we? 1 second, guys. Hello.
It's called the revolution, people. Terry is asking for a revolution on the football terrace, live on the football terrace. This is called the revolution.
Hello. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, Freya.
Hello.
They haven't seen you on camera,
Hello.
Freya, since you were much smaller.
Freya.
You're right.
Oh,
Do you want me to turn the TV up for you? Okay, I've got to go. You gentlemen
all
talk
right,
about
all right,
I'm not going to turn the TV
All
up.
right.
we'll do it. Yeah. But listen, for this Man United thing, and I want to get Lawless. Let's talk about that on the pitch.
Yeah.
If they get top 4, and I haven't spoken to you about this, and it looks like Spurs are in a downfall. Man United on top 4, they are the team in form now. I don't think the manager should stay. That's my opinion. I've said that many times because I don't think he's turning around. There's no style of play. They look absolutely atrocious against Luton. They were terrible. Do you believe their manager should stay if he makes the Champions League football? I don't.
Yes, it's a tough one. Like, because I think if Man United want to be ruthless, then yeah, maybe it's time to move him on. But I think that their priority has to be the squad. You know, and if they're going to have to pay off Ten Hag a big load of money to leave, then getting a new manager, maybe one that they have to buy out his contract, and then invest in the squad. I think that transition of maybe let's stick with Ten Hag and focus on the squad and invest that money.
Come on, are you serious? But
Yeah,
hold on. No.
Go on.
No. The objectives, and I quote my friend Staffy here, the objective changes, but doesn't mean you met your objectives. The squad should have improved. The team should have improved. They aren't improving. Against Luton, they were dominated. I did a watch along for that game, and I'm like, what is this? Man United against Luton, getting dominated, conceding chances left and right, and they didn't even defend well. I thought Luton had the chances. Man United looked, in my opinion, against Luton, this is what Man United did. He went to the game to the plan, and once he went 2-0 up, he was winging it. He abandoned everything because I don't think in the beginning of the game he told his players, "We'll sit back." I doubt that Man United manager with these players against Luton will tell the players after 15 minutes, sit back for the majority of the game. He was winging it. That's not a manager that has a plan. Managers don't do this. Managers don't, big managers for big clubs don't do this. They might do it for Stam. That's fine. But they don't do it for other clubs. I'm sorry, with all due respect. You 2-0 up against Luton. You don't sit back. You don't change your plan. Klopp don't do this. Arteta don't do this. I'm sorry, Pep Guardiola don't do this. And they were all right last year. He was winging it last year in this game, Luton game.
But if we go from the point that Terry just said, is that for years, and which I agree with, the biggest problem at Manchester United has not been the football manager. It's been the structure behind the manager, above him, right? So if we're focused on going to prioritize on the squad, and yeah, like Ten Hag, you can't say the guy is not without his faults. But maybe instead of paying him off, we see what he can do with a competent structure behind him, with a director of football that can go and help scout, you know, decent players. Because I think there needs to be a big overhaul. There's some gems in that team. But if this is going to take Man United back to challenging, they're going to need an overhaul of that team and maybe eventually a new manager. But maybe it's now the right time.
I get where you're coming from. Where I challenge it is based on something Rooney said today. So Rooney spoke on the overlap about how from the moment David Moyes walked in, lots of players in the squad went, no, not having him. So player power has been a problem at this club since before. Like that was essentially Fergie's squad. So it's interesting how quickly player power became a part of Man United. We barely signed anybody in the summer, and we signed a Moyes player in Fellaini. Then we got Mata. So it wasn't as though in year one it was a squad full of new players that brought toxicity with them. Player power has been an issue, and I think there's a lot of players who from day one or at some point in his tenure have gone not having Ten Hag. I still think it's a quicker process to getting back to being successful by removing the manager as well as some of these players, because it starts everything off from a position of freshness. Unless if there's 5 players, 6 players, 7 players, 8 players that don't rate the manager, doesn't matter who they are, the owners say they will all be sold this summer 100%, irrespective of how much we lose on them. That's the only way you could potentially turn it round. But I do think we've got to move on from him as well. If we don't and we stick with him, there are rumors of that. Then I wish it all the success in the world.
Being linked, you know, he said he wants the job. He said he's interested in it. Or the links
but that's also it, though. Like if someone says we've heard Tuchel and Potter, I would keep Ten Hag over Tuchel and Potter, 110%. If that's my options,
Thomas Tuchel is a fraud, bro.
Yeah, I don't want Thomas Tuchel anywhere near, man. I said this on a few shows. I'll repeat the same joke again. If you come second in a beauty contest, but you're the only person in it, how ugly are you, bruv? If you're not winning the Bundesliga when you're in a full season, when you're I know Leverkusen are good. I know Alonso's doing bits, but Bayern Munich isn't even not winning it. 8 points behind. It's crazy. Yeah. Out of the Pokal, looking awful in the champion. I don't want this man anywhere near Man United because we're even bigger from a global attention point of view. Bayern Munich are huge, are amazing, but United is even more Hollywood FC. He ain't gonna handle that pressure. He is gonna, just like his hairline. That thing's gonna keep collapsing, bro. 110%.
Like big up Jacob said on my channel earlier. Big up Jacob. There's a spicy Di Matteo, bro. This is it. This is who he is.
Well, I wouldn't say spicy. Di Matteo. Where's Di Matteo from? Is he Spanish?
He's Italian.
Italian. That makes more sense. Di Matteo. That's far more. It's like a unseasoned Di Matteo. Do you know what I'm saying? It's German. Germans don't season their food. Do you know what I'm saying? Would you rather eat German or Italian food?
Bro has no style, bro.
Italian. Di Matteo. How am I not even remembering that? But...
he has no style, bro. And there's a lot of Chelsea fans that want him back. I'm like, come on, you guys.
He won the Champions League with that Chelsea side, and look what Chelsea have been since that Champions League win. I mean, that's not the best Chelsea side of all time.
There's a lot of Di Matteo won the Champions League as well. Di Matteo won the Champions League.
I hear you.
100%.
Honestly, I've got to a point now in my football life where I judge people on their league position almost more than just
style of play, style of play,
pound for pound wise. You know, with what they're winning is important, but I think pound for pound, I look at their league position because I think it's a true barometer of who and where you are. We have some super chats here. This is a weird one. It says Arsenal in talks with City for Foden.
Oh, this is a rumor I started.
What? Oh, you started it. Okay.
I started this, and Tony is going around the channels trying to say that, listen, bro, if your coach, Phil Foden, if your coach is not appreciating you, is he shafting you to the side? Arsenal have a spot for you in the middle. Declan Rice, Foden, Odegaard, we're here for it. We're here for it. When England
you say that, you sound like one of those infomercials. They don't really get them anymore. Have you had an accident? It's like, did your manager appreciate you? Do you get the playing time that you want? If not, call Arteta now on 0800 223 and join us now.
Mo, you finessed Tony out of $2 with your made-up rumor there. He was all excited as well.
He did it earlier because I said, because Man City fan, I was with Nobbins the other day. And he's like, yeah, Foden played on the side now. He only played half the games. Like, see, your manager isn't appreciating. There's a lot of teams around the world will appreciate the talent. One of them is Mikel Arteta. And that midfield needs a Phil Foden there. He's guaranteed a starting spot. Because we spoke about this, and I know we'll talk about City and Kevin De Bruyne and all the stuff. But to be honest, Phil Foden, he needs now. And we said it many times. And I know that we're not segueing to Man City yet. But he needs to have a good starting position in the City team. When he played in the middle, looked amazing. Why you're shifting him again? I think to please somebody else. Come on, the kid deserves more. Phil Foden is talented. He deserves more.
Would you have him at West Ham, Lawless?
Yes, kudos.
He might get on our bench. He might get on our bench. No, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, listen, I'll take him at Man United tomorrow. I think he's absolutely amazing. He's
a Man City boy.
On a genuine thing, and that's serious, and it's this is not a joke, people. Pep Guardiola isn't staying forever at Man City. He has 1 year left after this. If he isn't playing the guy, and the kid is 23 going 24, if he isn't playing the kid in his favorite position to develop now, and he is one of the guys, why we aren't talking about Phil Foden going to Real Madrid? Why not? They need a right winger. They're going to get Mbappe in the middle. Why not go to another team that challenges as well, that win titles? Why not? It's not about Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola isn't staying until 2030. Phil Foden is a brilliant, fantastic talent. Why not? Why not 120?
I'm really intrigued. I'm really intrigued to see what players stay at City post Pep. Not that City won't be attractive after Pep, but who the new manager is, who he fancies, how much the style changes, if at all, who it works for. Because there is a feeling that if Pep leaves, you might have someone that goes, okay, like Pep was the biggest reason I was here. You know, if Pep wasn't their manager when they were trying to sign Haaland and Tuchel was, would City have been as attractive? Maybe not. Maybe now, after doing trebles, they've got that. I'm really intrigued to see life at City after Pep Guardiola. They'll still sign quality players, but there's always, when you've had a manager at a club for so long, there's always casualties along the way. Someone new comes in and just doesn't fancy a particular player or wants a different style. Yeah, listen, I'm intrigued. This is a funny super chat here. This says, as a Liverpool fan, I admit that Man United's squad is almost world class. They just need a new goalkeeper, 4 new defenders, 3 midfielders, and 3 new attackers.
Oh my god!
Oh my God.
Thanks, mate. Would be a massive 2 fingers to the Glazers if Sir Jim Ratcliffe appoints Ralph on the board. I'm ecstatic with Sir Jim Ratcliffe's vision and blueprint. Change is coming. Get with it. I agree. Change is definitely coming, my friend. You should watch FUTV video talking about the I think you meant to say renovation of Old Trafford. I'll check that out, my friend. I mean, that's also what I'm looking forward to. But we're talking about a 90,000 seat stadium. This is how greedy I am. I want 100,000. I want to. Because we fill it. Man United can fill that. I want 100. In fact, what's the biggest stadium in the world, right? Biggest.
The Maracana. I think
I think it is, I think it's in America. Biggest stadium in the world. Stadiums. There's one in North Korea, I think, that's got the biggest, but we can't verify that. Yeah, well, no, there's true. No, there's not. There's one in India called, I'm going to butcher the name here, the Narendra Modi Stadium. 132,000. 132,000. Then there's one in North Korea that had 114,000, but that obviously can't be verified because you can't go there. The next biggest is the Michigan Stadium, which is 107,000. And then you got the Beaver Stadium at Penn State University. I've been there, 106,000. For me, it's like, okay, we're not going to do 132, but it's like, let's do 108,000. Let's have like sort of the biggest in the western side of the world. I don't know. Like, I just look at it and think,
would you be okay with tearing down Old Trafford and building a brand new one?
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Would you be okay with that?
I wouldn't. Do you know what's funny? I was still working in the East End of London when everything happened to Upton Park, and the bit I think the idea of having that as a new stadium is great. Distance from the stadium, one thing. What I felt sorry for was the local businesses, the local people that it had been around, and a lot of them used to bank with us at the time. I was working at Barclays, and it weren't a very nice environment. The fact we'll be building it on the same site, you're not taking it away from its community and its place. Does that make sense? It is an iconic stadium, and I absolutely love it to bits. But iconic stadiums have been knocked down before, and new ones have been built. If it's an easier job that creates bigger capacity, which enables us to make more money, which furthers our endeavors on the pitch, I am for it. I'm not.
Where are you going in the meantime, though? Man City, you're going to try and share with Man City?
Well, if we're building a new one, we won't need to because it'll be built next to we'll just stay in the old one until the new one's ready. Yeah. So it's literally will be built behind it. So. Yeah, I'm not dead set against it. I know some people are, and I respect that. It's such a spiritual home for a lot of people. But if you actually think about it, without sounding horrible, if you look at the stadium now and look what it is even like 35, 40 years ago, it doesn't look the same. So building a new one is no different to knocking all the sides down and rebuilding them anyway. It's not good. Yeah. If we rejuvenate the whole thing, none of it would look the same when you turn up anyway. So no. I think we're being a little bit sentimental with it because it's on the. Yeah, it
Lawless, you moved stadiums, so how does it feel moving a stadium from your old?
Well, yeah. The thing is, yeah, I you do miss it. The thing because if they're in the same location, like if we did this, what Terry's talking about, it wouldn't have been as much of a problem because, like I said, you still have, all the businesses around there. Your match day is the same, but I do miss the oldness, the historicness of Upton Park as well. And that's what you felt going into the stadium. This has been here 100 years. This is, the history in it. Whereas these new stadiums, even though ours isn't a proper stadium, but you go to the Emirates, all of that, it feels just corporate. You go to Old Trafford, you sort of aware, you feel the history in the building, even though it's kind of falling apart. it feels like that. Building something new, I don't know if you're going to miss that, you know?
See, for me, I don't know how they would do this. I'm not an architect, but I would like someone to build a new stadium with all the mod cons you need, but it still have that authentic, more old-fashioned look. There must be a way of doing that. It's like, yeah, I agree with you. Like the West Ham Stadium again. I wouldn't say it's soulless. That would be really wrong, because I was there, very fortunate to be. I was there on the Super Saturday during London 2012. And when West Ham fans said you can't have an atmosphere, I was like, nah. I was there when Mo Farah, Jess Ennis, and Rutherford all won golds. That night, the stadium was moving, bruv. It was so much. But you've got to feel it. I think that the thing for you guys was...
football, that was the problem.
No, I agree with that. And it's also takes you away from, not walking down Green Street, you know what I'm saying? And not... the pie and mash shops, the chip shops, the pubs, the bowling, like not having all those places, removing that, I think is worse for fans than the new stadium in itself. Man United fans will still have the same bars, restaurants, pubs. There'll be the same journey in. I don't think it will be as bad. But look, everyone's going to have a difference of opinion on that. Here, this says West Ham rivals are Sports Directs. Thanks for Rice, is what Misha says here.
I don't know what he means by that.
I don't know what that means. No more Sava. Bye-bye, Sava, is what this super chat here says. Yeah, Sava is off doing... It's not actually letting me click on the super chat. My whole thing is frozen. I don't know what's going on. I can't click anything. Oh, there we go. It's working now. It does say that, but thanks for the super chat, my G. I've spent too much money trying to spread the rumor. It's all right, mate. It's all right. We'll help you spread it. And Mo Gender against Mkhitaryan is scary. Well, they're saying you look like him.
No. The watch along, but I cussed him about like 200 times.
He's a bum. He's a bum.
He's a bum. Without a shadow of a doubt, he's a bum, bro.
Bum at my club. He was a bum at Man United. I was so excited when we signed him as well. Speaking of weird stuff, have you guys heard what Pep Guardiola has said?
I see the clip. I did see it.
The clips come out. This is what Pep Guardiola has said yesterday to a journalist when the journalist said to him, "What's wrong with being a journalist? What's wrong with being a journalist?"
What's wrong with being a journalist?
For me?
Yeah, what's wrong with being a journalist?
No, I'm a manager. My life is better than yours, so.
He kind of questioned journalists because he said that people were writing off Haaland and everything else. And a journalist asked a question around what's wrong with being a journalist, and he said, "Well, my life's better than yours." A lot of people are angry about this. What do you two make of Pep Guardiola's comment there, talking to a journalist in that way?
I'm gonna let Lawless go first, because if I speak, I'm in trouble.
Do you know what? It's Pep being Pep. I see a lot of comments going, "Oh, if this was Arteta, and everyone would be losing their minds," and everything. And there's a degree of truth to that, because I don't know, Pep's got that swag about him. But yeah, I can understand. There's an animosity.
The guy speaks out of his ass, Lawless.
What? Who? Pep?
Swagger. Pep has swagger.
Yeah, he's got that. He's got that about him. That like Jose. Do you know what I mean? Like, say, I think. To me, he's got it about him where he can sort of get away with that. And journalists as well, I don't mind him, dissing the journalists, because nowadays journalism isn't what it was back in the day. It's all about twisting and forming your own narratives. It's not about the truth. That's what journalism was always about. It was about the truth. Now it's about making headlines, you know what I mean, rather than reporting on them. So, yeah, I think it was just a little bit of banter, a bit of tongue in cheek. I don't think he was... And the guy said, "What's wrong with being a journalist?" He's like, "Oh, for me, like, no, well, I'm a manager. I'm happy being a manager. Why would I want to be a journalist?" I don't know. I think it's being blown out of proportion. It's that bit of banter in the press conference. You know what I mean? So,
no, I don't see it this way. I don't see it this way. Why he's making fun? Okay, hear me out. Pep Guardiola is funny and nice when he's winning and no pressure. He feels the pressure. That's why he comes out with these stuff. He always comes out with this stuff. Always. He mocks people, talks down to people when he's losing. Yes, he won the game, but he knew yesterday a slip, 1-0. Everybody expected you to win 2-3-0. He's feeling the pressure and he's taking it out on the journalists. Yes, it's blown out of proportion, but it's not his first time. And I'm going to tell you, if Arteta does this, he gets mocked. If Ten Hag says something like this, people will turn on him. But people don't want to say that. Why? Because it's Pep Guardiola and he's the winner. When Jurgen Klopp says something like this, people wipe the floor with him in the media. Why?
But look how Klopp says it to Pep says it. Pep looks
it's about the way he says it now. It's not about.
Yeah, it is.
It's about the way he says it now. It's
because Klopp is aggressive. Klopp is like direct. Klopp will attack the journalist already. Like Pep, the way he's saying it, it's casual. It's off the cuff. It's cool. You know,
I don't think the people in the chat can let us know if they think talking down to a journalist that makes a friction of what you make. They're trying to do their job, create headlines, working left and right, try to catch you in press conferences, and you're talking down to them because you're rattled. I don't like it. I don't think it's something that should. Yes, it's a joke and everything, and there shouldn't be questioning. But I think this is a sign of someone who is rattled, who's feeling the pressure, who's feeling the stress. But people don't want to talk about it because it's Pep. And I guarantee you, listen, I don't like Arteta on the touchline, but I think Arteta defending his players and the way he talks to the people is a very nice way in the press conference, right? I don't like the jumping and all the stuff, right? But he speaks with respect and everything. Pep doesn't. When he's rattled, he doesn't. People press Arteta and pressure Arteta, Terry. People tell him, why did he do this? No, I'm going to stand behind my players. No, I'm going to do this. But Pep, he took it out on the journalists. I didn't like it.
I get both your point of views. The part of me looks in and goes, it was just a bit of a joke. The journalist probably didn't like it. So obviously, there are other journalists in the room that laughed as well. I assume that was journalists laughing, so they didn't all take it in that way. I also see it from the other end of the spectrum and think if certain other managers did that, there'd be outrage. If David Moyes said that, there'd be outrage. If a lot of players said it, they'd be outraged. I also think about it from the fact that we as fans get told, ironically by journalists, that we're not really qualified to speak about football like they are. You then move into the realm of, well, look what I do. My life's better than yours, or I know more than you. This kind of hierarchical take on things. I just don't. There's something about it that makes me uncomfortable, and more so, I move it away from Pep. I think we live in a world right now where it's really. I worry about the next generation and their ability to do normal jobs, because everybody views the world as if I'm not doing something that's seen as very high in social status, footballer, top level influencer, movie star, singer, then my life's crap, my life's boring. Look at their Instagrams, look at his Instagram. I want to be like that. And I know Pep hasn't said it in this way, and I'm not even taking it out of context. That's where it doesn't sit right with me, because I think we already struggle enough with people doing normal jobs being looked at like they're bums. There are people I know that have good jobs who, when they speak to young people, like, so I had a friend of mine who's got a good job in a bank, was speaking in a school like the banks have done for the last 20 years. And all the kids are like, ugh, wouldn't want to do that job. Like it's a dead job. It's a bum job. Like I want to have something that's proper good. And they say things like, I want to be a gamer. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a gamer. What they actually mean is I want to be a famous gamer that everybody watches. And I think to myself, that's why the comment irks me. Not because Pep said it personally, not because it was meant in that way. I think we already struggle in society with people accepting that having a good, normal 9-to-5 job doesn't make you worth anything less than someone who is a footballer, who is an actor, who is an influencer. And I believe we're kind of in this realm of the world now where, look, we work in social media, right? We do. But anyone who's met me in person, anyone who's been around me knows, I don't think I'm anything special. I don't think my opinion is worth more than anybody else's. And I don't treat anybody any differently. There are people that honestly think, well, because I've got lots of followers on Twitter, I'm a better person than you. And Pep's kind of fed into that modern day mindset of, yeah, if you earn more money or your name's more well known, you've got a better life by default. And that isn't necessarily true. There are lots of people that have the most amazing lives who you've never heard of, rich or not. And that's the element of it that irks on me. And I know that, and I'm not trying to actually have a go at Pep personally. I'm not trying to make it just about him, but I just feel like there's a level of, in society now, there's like a level of decorum and behaviors and acceptable standards that are just not adhered to anymore. And this just kind of threw a bit of fuel on that fire, really. So I don't look at Pep and think, you scumbag, you should be banned or anything like that. That's too far. But I just look at it and it's like, oh, I don't know. Modern day society is weird enough as it is without those kind of comments for me.
I want to say something to the City fans that are rattled in the chat. You guys are always like, when we speak anything about your club, imagine me sitting here on the football terrace and I tell you, listen, I'm in this side of the camera. I'm better than you. My life is better. I get to talk about football in front of you and you get to send chats. How would you feel? if I don't respect you as a viewer, how would you feel? If I'm telling you, I'm right here in front of you, you can only chat to me through the chat, but I'm talking, how would you feel? This is, the journalist might have felt this way. My life is better than yours.
But at the same time, the journalists respect managers when they're constantly speculating on their jobs and,
but that's their job,
about,
that's
should this one get sacked? You know what I mean? I know, but you got to look at it from both ways. I see why football managers aren't completely endeared to journalists. You know what I mean? They're not exactly the biggest fan of journalists, because journalists spend all this time talking about the job they do and speculating on if they're going to get sacked or not. And in any other walk of life, if like Terry, when you was working at your bank and I'm like, oh, Terry, you're getting sacked today, mate. Today every day you're going to get sacked, so you're going to get annoyed by that. So I think I can both hear what both of you saying.
I totally get you. And I think it's some, you know what I think it is? It's just, I would never speak to someone like that, even if I was annoyed with them. Like, I've had a lot of rows with people on here, as we've all seen before, but I've never turned around and be like, well, I earn more money than you. My life's better than you. What do you know? I just, saying that would
leaves
make
a bit of a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, like saying that would make me feel really bad about myself. I would, honestly, my God, if I said something like that, I think my grandparents would come back alive and beat the shit out of me. My dad, even I'm 38, would put me over his knee and spank my ass. It would actually embarrass my family if I spoke down to anybody. Like the other day, I took my little boy football, and I've got a nice Beamer. I've worked really hard for it. I got it. And there's this young lad who coaches there, and he's got a nice little Beamer himself. But he was like, "Oh, I really want that. I just can't afford it right now, like the car I've got." And I just said, "Mate, how old are you?" He said, "Like 20." I said, "Don't beat yourself up." I said, "When I was 20, I was driving some clapped out 15-year-old Ford Fiesta that barely worked." I said, "You'll get there. Just keep working hard and doing your thing." I've had it around where I live because there's a lot of wealthy people around here. When I pulled up at my daughter's school, say, because of how I dress and talk, they go, "How do you afford a car like that?" I suppose that's why maybe it irks at me. I will never talk down to someone that doesn't have what I have. Equally, I won't ever be spoken down to by anybody that thinks I have more than I have either. And I just, maybe it's the working class man in me that doesn't look at that stuff as being right. But I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. Not a good look, Pep. Not a good look, but I don't know. This is just, to be fair, Terry, you do say you'll pay someone's rent for a year if they can prove you wrong. That's a good point, but that's more to do with the fact. I don't. That's a good challenge, to be fair. And maybe I've actually been called out for doing that. But my view is people call me a liar and say I'm making things up. And it's like, well, come on camera and I'll do this for you if you can prove me wrong. It's calling out people that are trolling me and lying about me. But I do hear you, my friend. That's a pretty good challenge, to be fair. But, and I agree with that. You haven't heard me do it in a long time, because I had a few people that I respect that said, I don't think you should do that. It doesn't look particularly good. So I was like, yeah. And yes, I do have a swimming pool, but what's that got to do with anything? I worked for it. I paid for it. What's that got to do with anything? But I don't think I'm better than Dan or Mo because they may or may not have swimming pools. That's the point. Having something doesn't make you think you're better. Saying I've got it, you haven't, does. And that's the point that we're making here, I think. So, it's Pep's doing his job. Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. I just don't think he should say things like that. So it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, City, they didn't look great again last night, did they, Lawless? Back onto the football.
Yeah, it is a bit concerning, I think, for City fans, looking at their sort of struggle to score goals and break teams down when you've got some of the best attacking talent that they have. Obviously, they've had a few injuries, but everyone's had them. So yeah, they're looking a little bit stagnant, but I'm waiting to see when that Man City kick into that next gear, which they always do coming up around this time of year. When it gets to March, February, they're going to have to find that gear. And I think we write them off too easily. But yeah, I think there's definitely cause for concern when it comes to, especially like at home. Do you know what I mean? Brentford are a tricky team, but I feel like it seemed like Man City, they need to start putting in performances where they're blowing like these types of teams away and really flexing their muscles. So yeah, I think it is a slight worry, but we'll see. I'll never write them off and think they're not favourites for the league. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that completely. They're definitely still the favourites for me. But the City fans, I didn't like the criticism last night. Did they, Mo, on the Match Reaction show?
I don't think they're favourites anymore.
Really? Who's favourites?
Kevin De Bruyne is injured. News came this morning. I don't know if did you read that? You guys didn't read that.
Is he injured again?
Yeah, he's injured again. They have concerns over his hamstring. It's everywhere. 10 hours, 5 hours ago. I think it's everywhere. Pep already. I don't think they are favorites. They have equal. They are not favorites by mile. Like, I think they have equal chances as Liverpool, depending on how Liverpool injuries come back.
Yeah, I mean,
this is what they said. Like, in my opinion, I'm gonna be realistic and oh my god, you guys sensitive. You guys are always sensitive. Okay, here it is. Liverpool have 1 point advantage over you. You go to play them in their ground, right? So you aren't favorites to win that game. So Liverpool can be 4 points ahead of you. Logically, you still have to play Spurs away. You have to play Arsenal, right? And you don't win in the Spurs ground. So I'm just gonna say, yes, you are favorites because you have the best team. Not anymore. Your coach yesterday struggled again to find the right combination. Oscar Bob, fantastic player, right? Young. He is different than Gundogan, different than Riyad Mahrez off the bench. Doku is somehow struggling to find the same form. I wouldn't scapegoat him, right? Matthias Nunes and Kovacic, your coach is refusing to rely on them. Your defense is getting turned by Vesa, Ivan Toney, by Nicholas Jackson, by Cole Palmer. Your defense conceding goals left and right. You aren't the same City as last year. You won some games. You won a lot of games, right? But you struggled against Chelsea. You struggled at home against Brentford. Liverpool aren't struggling at the moment. They have injuries. I don't know when the injuries are going to be back. But if they are back, the injuries, I actually think they are favorites. And also, Arsenal Football Club, they have a lot of tough games. You want to sit here and tell me that the Arsenal we saw last 5 games and the City that played against Brentford, against Chelsea at home, Arsenal cannot go and get a result? I'm not saying they will get a result. I'm just saying logically, looking at the two teams and how they are performing at the moment, Arsenal can go to the Etihad and get a result. How did I change my mind? Looking at how you play, Man City. Looking at you conceding goals. Why is it hard to understand, bro? I don't get it.
Thing is, Mo, I said this on Dan Potts' channel the other day, right? Is we seem to do this every season where Man City, they go through these shaky periods in the season. We always say they're not the same. They're not the same. This is the year, they're not going to win the league. And then when they do it, everyone looks at, oh my God, it's the Bundesliga. Oh, they're cheating. It's one season, one league. What do you call it? One team league, all of this stuff. So everyone complains, but then it's like, well, you was just sitting there, a few months ago saying, they're not the same. They're not that good. And then you're complaining and crying foul like, oh, it's, not a competitive league when they win it. We see this story time and time again. So in my mind, even though you're right, everything that you said is right. Yeah. Okay. That Liverpool have the advantage on points. Anfield, all of that is true. However, Man City are the one team that you can put your money on to go on a crazy run. They could potentially lose against Liverpool and Arsenal, still go on a crazy run and finish above those teams because we've seen it time and time and time again. So
if they lose both games, Lawless, they won't win the league.
If they what's that?
If they lose both games, as you said, they won't win the league.
I mean, it's on the other teams to have that mentality. Arsenal showed they had a big lead last season, and they didn't have the mentality to get over the line. Man City come back, and everyone thought Arsenal was going to win it. Same with Liverpool. A few years ago, before they did win it, they had a big.
Liverpool but Liverpool went 3 or 4 times on a massive run of games. So why are you ruling? If you're ruling them out because of the injuries, I'll understand it, right? But their squad and their team is good enough to win the majority of the games. And they play Europa League. They can throw it away. They don't play Champions League. If Man City get Arsenal in the next round, Real Madrid, Inter, or even Bayern Munich, they'll have to play 2 games. And they'll have to play their first 11. And at the current moment, logically speaking, Pep Guardiola doesn't trust a lot of his bench players. He doesn't.
Do you think Liverpool can rest a lot of their star players in this Europa League? So you're saying
yeah.
I don't think they, especially with these injuries, with what they've got, and some of the teams that are in it, It depends
But
on the
remember,
draw.
they don't have to play, Lawless. They don't have to play. They don't play in the round of 32. They're not going to play until, I think, end of March or mid-March.
Yeah, same as us, yeah.
Yeah, so they won't play. Man City will play Copenhagen, and they will play later again. Liverpool, I don't know if Liverpool, what they're going to get, right? I don't know. Liverpool might get a team that don't need to play their superstars. They don't need to play the superstars. Kwanzaa can start. Kella can start. Gakpo can start. Come on. I think the Europa League is much easier than the Champions League. After this round, Man City might have to face a tough team, most likely than not.
I get what you're saying. Look, back to your original point. So to shoot out and sort Freya out again. But I don't. My hat is on so bent. It's crazy. I just see it in there. That's crazy. City are still the favourites. KDB, he's got a little niggle on his hamstring, but he's going to be okay. There's no talk of him being out for weeks and weeks. If KDB was going to miss the rest of the season, that throws a spanner in the works.
Okay.
However, they've won titles without him before. I still think they'd be the marginal favourites. If between now and when they play Liverpool and Arsenal, they drop more points and then lose those games, yeah, that changes it. But I don't think City can be written off as not being the title favourites. But yeah, I mean, what I mean is I don't think they can be written off as being title favourites. Where I do partially agree with you is I think the difference between all three teams right now is minuscule.
Yes.
I think Arsenal are the best of all three at this particular moment in time. I think they are scoring the most. Defensively, they're the best in terms of the chances that they concede. So footballing wise, Arsenal right now are the better of the three. However, what you have with City and Liverpool is that know-how and that experience in this current group of winning the major trophies. And that is so valuable. Right now, I think Arsenal being slightly behind Liverpool gives them an advantage. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, Mo, where I think the pressure's kind of off them. Yeah. If through a quirk of some results, they end up top of the league by 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, that may change that situation. Now, they may have built that mental strength through experiencing it last year. So I do think Arsenal at this moment in time are marginally better on the footballing front when you look at both teams.
Yeah, but
the opportunities they concede and score. But the other two, and again, you're talking margins here, fine margins. The other two, though, what they have in abundance is that experience and that winning know-how, which is why I think when you look at who the favourites are, it's kind of doing this for me, depending on, do you know what I'm saying? Like by the end of this coming weekend, could change again. You know, if Arsenal lose to Newcastle, Liverpool win tonight, and City win at the weekend, suddenly you go, Arsenal will drop back a little bit now. But if Liverpool were to draw tonight, City draw at the weekend, and you know, against Bournemouth, when no one expecting to, an Arsenal win, suddenly people look at it and go, hang on a minute, Arsenal might have just moved to the front of this. And that's what's amazing about this race. And I think you're going to get 2 or 3 of those changes in the next 2 or 3 months. I think we're going to all change our minds, which is normal, to who we think's going to win it. And there's a difference between the conversation, and people get this confused a lot, between who you think's going to win it and who can win it. And some people will like throw them into the same bracket. We go, do you think Liverpool can win it? Nah, City are. So you don't think Liverpool can win it? I said City are winning it. Yeah, but do you think Liverpool could? Yeah, they could, but City will win it. I want to talk about why you think they can and what's going to stop them. And they're all in this mix. It's amazing for me. But yeah, Pep for me and City still just marginally the favourites, in my opinion. I disagree with you.
I asked this question on my show yesterday.
I hope you didn't take that the wrong way.
That's all right, bro. No. Listen. My opinion is my opinion. I'm not changing it. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not changing my opinion. And listen, the title race thing is all right. It's good. But we know that City will win it, which is what you and Lawless are saying. You and Lawless are saying the same. That Man City will win it. I wanted to ask you guys something. And I think it's interesting. It's an interesting question. I'm not trying to be a host to those people. I just think I want to know people's opinion. What do you think is the best story out of the 3 teams, in your opinion? What do you think is the best story? Which will make a better headlines for
Liverpool.
us as YouTubers, for the newspapers? Which one is the best? And in the chat, people, let me know. Tell me your opinion.
I'm going to get called a simp, but I get why you're saying. Is that because of the Klopp thing? Dan?
It's the Klopp. It's the perfect ending. It's the storybook ending. Everyone says, "Oh, you've only won 1 Premier League." They get another Premier League, huge for them. Klopp goes out on a high way to end it. Huge. I know what you're going to say, Terry, and I'm not going to spoil it.
I know explain it. Terry has to explain. If he's going to say
no, I look at it this way. I get where you're. I think you've got a great point. I think the story is amazing for Liverpool to Klopp to go out on a high. I absolutely get that. I think Arsenal ending 20 years of hurt and triggering a lot of the pundits and the media that have said they can't do it is also an amazing story. I think City doing a 4-peat is an amazing story, but I think it deflates the following campaign slightly. And explain where I come from with that. I think, you remember about 3 years ago when they cheated Lewis Hamilton out of his record-breaking championship by doing, I don't know if you, I don't watch much Formula One, but they cheated him out of it with what they did with the cars. At the time they did it, I felt they did that because if Hamilton won that title and becomes the all-time, the greatest driver ever, the most titles ever, as fun as the following season is, how are you topping that? How are you topping that level of excitement? Does that make sense? Because you've just seen someone break a record that nobody thought was going to be broken for decades. Theoretically, he could win it again the next year and keep adding to that, but it's never going to have the same gravity. Like Usain Bolt, I think he broke his world record twice, but the first time he broke it still seemed to have more excitement and global attention. So I feel as though Liverpool or Arsenal winning it is better, a bigger story and better for the ongoing Premier League story than City doing it. I think City doing a 4-peat, a lot of people may not feel it right now. It's going to deflate a lot of football clubs because even if you win it the following year, they just did a 4-peat. They just set a record in football that I don't think any of us will ever be alive to see again. My children, I hope they live to be 150. I still don't think they'll see a club do 4-peat again. So
and it's good to see, though, isn't it? Not for Man United fans, but
not for any of us. No, it's not good.
Do you know?
Not good. It's not
I
good.
want to see a quadruple. Like I want to see these things happen.
So let's establish a back-to-back triple will break the internet. Arsenal winning the league and the Champions League will break the internet. I think it will break down. I think we won't be able to do anything. It will break the internet.
If that happens, I quit YouTube. I quit YouTube if that happens.
I said if that happens, a lot of channels will close down.
Why?
Close down. If Arsenal win the Champions
League, can't bear the Arsenal fans. Oh my God! Can you imagine?
Bro, listen. If Arsenal win the Premier League and the Champions League together,
do you know what it is for me? I get it. Look, I know you're London. I know we're both London boys, but like London supporting sort of London club. This is where I think we see it different. I don't want to see a quadruple or a quad done or a 4-peat done by another club, and I don't mean this in a condescending way about West Ham. Although for the last decade, Man United haven't been in that conversation, for the large part of our history we have in terms of winning titles, even being title races, we have the infrastructure and facilities and money to be challenging. I don't want anybody. That hurts me more. A record being set that I don't think we can achieve in my lifetime worries me a lot more than some fans going crazy online because I can just mute it and turn it off. I don't need to see it. I don't need to watch it. Like that record. And me and the Man United fans got into this last year where a lot of them online were like, I can take City doing a treble, but I can't take Arsenal winning a league because of the way their fans will behave. And I just sit there and go, but that's a summer of having to put up with a lot of jibber jabber. Yeah. That treble is there forever. And that for me is so much more painful than any kind of banter online. It really is. I don't think Arsenal winning the league will hurt people as much as they
how. Hold on. There is another side of the story, and Liverpool fans, you will hate me for this. If Arteta wins the league this year and Klopp leaves, it's a dent in the Klopp era achievement. People will never think about Klopp the same. People will never say Klopp is the one who battled Pep Guardiola. One league title, Arteta won the same league title. People will think about Jurgen Klopp as you came in 9 years, you won one league title. Arteta's been here 4 years.
Can you imagine what this does?
League title.
Can you imagine Klopp's legacy, Premier League legacy, if Arteta wins it this year and then retains it?
No, that's it.
I am actually presenting stories. People don't want to think about it because you guys are again another Liverpool fans will say, but we challenged. 10 years from now, people will remember one thing.
But let's talk about what about the spend, though? Because what if I swear, if someone could check this, but I'm pretty sure Arsenal spent a lot more than Liverpool during Arteta's tenure.
Nobody remembers this shit, bro.
They've had that spend, so we got to put that context out. You know what I mean?
You put it because you're a West Ham fan. 10 years from now, no one will remember that, bro. They will remember that Klopp stayed 9 years, one league title, and Arteta battled Pep and won one league title. This is what people will remember in 10 years. the legacy of Klopp will be tarnished.
Let's add up what Liverpool have spent. Actually, let's do it while we're live, right? So this year, 172 million. Last year, 142 million. Season before that, 21-22 was 87 million, and the season before that, the 2021 season, 84 million. So that's 485 plus 10 million in the January prior, right? 8 million, sorry. So 495 million. Let's do Arsenal's in that same under Arteta in that same time period. It's going to be close 495. Just remember that 495.
495 for Liverpool.
495 for Liverpool. Right. So let's go back and have a look at this.
5.9. I know.
So Arsenal first year 86 mil, 167 mil, 186 million. Oh, they're going to fly past it.
Yeah.
200 it's much higher. 673.
So Arteta.
Yeah, no.
However, what I will say, but do you not include what Pep had spent prior to Arteta arriving and the foundation he'd already built?
Yeah, they do that. So we'll do that for Klopp then. Firmino was there before he arrived, right? In the last foot, I think Mohamed Salah was at Liverpool before Arteta arrived, if I'm not mistaken. Sadio Mane was there before Klopp arrived. Am I wrong here? Stop me when I'm wrong. Anyway, listen. I think Arteta wins it. But to be honest with you, looking from outside, being a neutral, not supporting the Premier League, I actually don't want this era to be remembered as Pep's era. I actually don't want that.
It's happened. It's done. It's done.
If Jurgen Klopp wins the Europa League and the league this year, and probably the 2 cups, this era will not be remembered as Pep's era. It will be remembered as Klopp and Pep's era. No, 100%. Why? 5 league titles versus 2, 3 Champions League finals, 1 Champions League, a Europa League. I think it will be remembered. Okay, let me ask you something.
You can't put the Champions League finals in the cabinet, Mo. You can't say that.
Are we remembering Arsene Wenger versus Alex Ferguson as Wenger and
no, that was so that was
Arsenal can say that.
It was from 1996-7 right through until 2004. That was the Wenger. That was the Fergie Wenger era. Was then the Fergie won. Then it became. I wouldn't call it. There was no manager versus manager era after that. It kind of became Fergie versus Jose.
And then
Chelsea. It was Fergie versus Chelsea. A little bit of Arsenal and a little bit of Liverpool in that period. But that was. This is Pep's. It is the Pep versus Klopp era. But Pep has just won the fight. That's just it. Like
he won a treble.
Yeah. I know. No. I get what you guys are saying. He won the fight, of course, but to be remembered as the Pep only era, if he wins the league this year, Klopp should not be with him. He's not with him. He's not the one.
Like, he doesn't. It's like Wenger. It's like Wenger's brilliant, but Fergie's on a different pedestal, a different level to him. Becky here says, Terry, will it hurt if Liverpool win the league and have the same amount of titles? Yes, of course it will. But it will hurt less than a 4-peat because us winning another title to go ahead of them again is far more likely than us ever doing a 4-peat. So it's I don't want it. Like that's why I want Arsenal to win out of the 3 teams that I believe could conceivably win it, because it's the lesser of 3 evils for me. Idealistically, I want Man United winning it, but we're not going to do it. So in terms of what would I want out of this current situation, it's Arsenal winning it, Liverpool coming second, City coming third. You know, I want City nowhere near these titles, you know, and again, it depends on your disposition. Look at some of these super chats here. The weird thing about City is that their problems are easy to solve. Everyone sees the problems, and yet the manager won't make changes. Liverpool winning. That's what's said here. Thank you very much, bro, from Kula. City winning it, then being stripped would be huge. That does change the landscape if they're found guilty of all these charges. Then it becomes a Klopp era. It just does. It's and that's why people always find some people don't like the idea of the trophies being stripped if they're found guilty of all the charges. I don't understand why, because I don't think people are deeping yet the potential ramifications of what they have done to football and how they have changed the landscape potentially through breaking rules. If somebody was winning Olympic golds, breaking world records, but it turned out they were doping the whole time, it would ruin a generation. In athletics, that they get genuinely damaged when stars get found guilty of physically doping, because it basically means that whole era becomes inconsequential. You can't talk about that era again. You can't show footage of that era again, because the people that should have won didn't win, and the people that did win were cheats. So it literally ruins. You're talking about a 10-year period of Premier League football that would be in huge trouble. It isn't just about City, it's about the whole thing, because lots of teams that should have won titles haven't. City wouldn't be where they are today, again, if they're guilty. So it's one of those things for me. It's a big conversation for when the trial takes place, but it's going to be a mad one. Arteta proves the doubters wrong. Yeah, him proving the doubters wrong. But I'm like, Dan, let me ask you honestly, because I know you're an honest guy, Dan. How much would it hurt if Arsenal were to win a major trophy this year? How much would it hurt you deep down inside?
Yeah, look, I got to be honest. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Their fans have been insufferable this year. Arteta is insufferable. And not all. Look, there's a lot of fans. They've got some class fans, but the majority of them are insufferable. So I don't want to see it. And we got to talk about it. What if they don't win as well? And we're talking about, well, can they win the Champions League? What if they win the Premier League? We also got to talk about what happens if they don't win anything this season. What happens to Arteta? The process is at the end of the process has to end at some point. It can't go on forever.
I think the process has ended. He's now judged on what he wins and where he comes in the league, to be fair. And I think it's a great question. I think if he gets to a Champions League final and narrowly loses to Real Madrid, if they come second in the league, 3 points off top, it's not a successful season in terms of trophies, but you can't look at that and say, stack him, terrible manager, because getting to that point, you've got to be a brilliant team. And I think I feel like football, we've gone through this weird period where at the elite end of the spectrum, the title challenging end, when I was a kid, there was quite a lot of seasons, even when Man United didn't win the league. But never once we go, I think we've got to think about changing the manager now to get us to that next level. I think there's an element of, if you know you're good enough to compete next year, you don't necessarily need to look at changing your manager unless you can genuinely bring somebody in that you know is much better than Arteta. However, if from this point he crumbles and they finish 4th or 5th, nowhere near the top, then I think his job does need to be scrutinized and looked at, because you can't go through that 3 years running. You just can't. Tony Bloom here says Klopp has spent 938 million euros since he's been in the 8 years he's been at Liverpool. That's crazy.
I have to fact check that.
Crazy. A Liverpool fan would say, "What's the net spend?" That's what a Liverpool fan would say.
But net spend doesn't exist in football, so it's an irrelevance. It doesn't exist.
It does exist.
No, net spend doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Football calculating what you do and don't make on transfers. Clubs don't use net spend. So I'll send you a link later. This financial guy broke down the costs of players, and it was showing how even though transfer fees for Højlund and Sancho were close because of image rights and salaries, the difference per year in cost to Man United is almost double for Jadon Sancho. Equally, you'll look at someone like Haaland and go, he only costs 15 million. That's good for net spend. But when you actually look at the agent fees and then the image rights they had to give him, he actually costs more per year to Manchester City than players that have cost the clubs 120 million pound in transfer fees. You look at Mbappe this year. On net spend, he's going to show a 0 for Real Madrid, but they have to pay him after tax 120 million pound signing on fee up front, which I don't know what the tax levels are in Spain, but you're talking 200 million pounds. But on net spend, he'll show a 0. That's why net spend is real.
No. But what does that have to do with my point? If you get a player for 50 million, improve the player, the manager, sell him for 70 to another club and get another player for 70, would you say that he spent 120 million?
So
he sold him for profit.
So what you have to factor in is how much profit did you actually make, what both players earn in salaries, what their agents cost you.
Yeah, but that's not included in the 938 million that the guy is talking about.
But that's what's been spent. Okay, I actually agree. Looking at what a manager has just spent in terms of just the transfer fees, it's too vague still. You need to look at what they spent on salaries. You need to look at what they spent on agent fees. Liverpool, by the way, high on agent fees. You have to look at all of the total spend. That is what you should focus on at a club. Some clubs, for instance, spend a lot more on their wages and agent fees, but less on transfer fees, because often players have deals with clubs where the agent fee, so Paul Pogba cost 90 million pound. half of that
You're
was
taking me in circles that I don't know what is.
No, I'm trying to explain.
You're taking me
here.
in circles.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to show you something. So Man United paid £90 million for Paul Pogba, but only half of that went to Juve. Half of it went to the agent. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to saying what Man United's and Juve's net spends were this year, it becomes confusing, right? Because we didn't spend £90 million on Paul Pogba as a transfer. We only spent £45 million on him as a transfer. The other half went to his agent.
So the way I look at it is in terms of when it comes to squad improvement, right? How much have you spent on improving your squad? So if you've sold £100 million player, right, and brought in, you've lost, your squad is weakened by that quality of player. So then if you go and buy £100 million player, is there a net difference really there when it comes to what you've put into your team? Whereas if you was to spend, say, we spent 500 million on a squad, made back 50 million in sales, well, you've improved your team 400 million pounds worth of talent wise. So that's where I think
Lawless here 100 Declan Rice for 100 Declan Rice for 110. They bought Kudos, Alvarez in the middle, if I'm not mistaken, Ward-Prowse, right? So did they spend the money? Are we gonna say that David Moyes spent that much money? No, he improved the player, Declan Rice, made him £110 million player, sold him, used the money. So I wouldn't include if he bought, let's imagine he bought Declan Rice for 20 million 5 years ago. I wouldn't say that, over his tenure, he spent 20 million plus these guys. No,
so, but the reason again, I understand it. The reason when I say net spend doesn't exist in the basic kind of sense that we use it, it's not how football clubs operate. So I don't think we should be pushing that out to fans. So for instance, some clubs' net spend is really good if you use net spend because they sell a lot of academy players, but that's part of their business model. Some other clubs don't have a business model where they're looking to sell their academy players for large profits. They generate their money from other means and other areas. Right. So some clubs don't need to focus. So sometimes you go, oh, look, that club's done £250 million in sales. This club's only done 87 million in sales. Yes, because it's the way their clubs are structured and the way they operate. So looking at net spend as basic, well, we spent 50 million on him now, but we sold him for 150 and we respent that money on players. You can look at it in that basic way, but when you start delving into the intricacies of it, there's much more expenditure. So I'm just not a fan of net spend being used as a way to work out if you're being operating in a good way or a bad way.
But you say Brighton are one of the best well-run clubs. Yes,
they are. You
literally say that. You say Brighton, but I'm going to tell you why. You asked me.
Okay, go on. What's that got to do with? What's that got to do with net spend?
You say they acquire the good talent and they sell sell them for a high price and they always improve the squad. That's your wording, not mine.
But that doesn't mean I believe that net spend in its basic sense is real. As an operation of buying cheap and selling for profit and then reinvesting that in your whole overall infrastructure, that's a great business model. But the basic sense of we spent 100 million on players and we bought 200 million, therefore our net spend is 100 million, that doesn't exist in that basic sense because you're not factoring in what you spent on agent fees. You're not factoring in what the new wages are after that point. Wages and agent fees typically cost clubs more money than their transfer fees. So what I'm saying is if you just look at what a manager spends, or you just look at what they spend and bring in on transfer fees, you're not looking at the overall investment picture. You have to you can then look at everything they bring in as well, but not every club has that business model where they're looking to sell younger, underused players to make money. So therefore, you have to look at the overall income of the football club and how they operate and work it. The only true net spend is the profit and losses a club makes at the end of the season and what percentage of their turnover they spend on players in and out. That's typically it.
So they aren't as successful as Brighton because they can't sell youth teams. Whatever club X you're talking about, they don't have a good academy, so they can't sell their product. So at the end, the club cares how to improve the squad is to raise the money from sales, from whatever profits you get. So it's all about how much you sell, how much you bring.
That element, again, no. Again, that element we agree on. That's a good thing that they do. But you're not listening to me. The basic format of we spent 50, we sold 100, so we made profit of 50 million. That doesn't exist at any football club in the world. Every single football financial expert who's ever discussed the money in the game, most agents that have ever gone on TV and spoke about it have said the same. I'll send you the articles, read it. It doesn't exist in that basic sense. It's far more complex than that. So you can look at what a manager spent. You can look at what's come in as an income. But imagine ignoring the huge. So Liverpool as an example, their fans have done this cleverly. Oh, we don't spend anywhere near as much as City. But what they do that City don't is they have a huge bonus structure for when they win. So whenever Liverpool win a major trophy, their wage bill for the following year or two is astronomical because of the bonuses they pay out. But that's how they've managed to keep a lot of these players at their football club. That is still an investment into their squad to keep those top class players there. But people ignore that element and don't put it into the net spend. But it's still a huge bit of money that the club's invested into its squad. So to remove that amount of spending is disingenuous to the point of saying, well, Pep's invested more money than Klopp. Well, how do you know if you're not factoring in all the investment from all areas that's kept that squad together?
So why are you
it's
only
flawed.
the spend? Why are you only factoring the purchase power? Why are
I'm
you
not
only factoring this? Okay,
I ain't.
so there
I'm
has
not.
to be something then. So
I'm
there has
not.
to be something we measure. Okay, so how do we measure a manager's success in running the club over 5-6 years? How?
Trophies and
Versus
league positions.
what? There has to be
Versus-
something versus the money you spend or
No,
versus
not really. Like you can to a degree. I think you can look at how much they've invested into the team, but you just do this. You look at their wage bill. You look at what they've spent. You can look at what they've sold as well.
Okay.
You can look at that. I don't think you can't, but I don't look at basic net spend. I
I
still
am
think
not
we're
in
missing the point.
disagreeing here, but we have to look at a manager versus how he invested in the club, how
Yeah,
much
but
talent he sold.
Again. That's a different point from is net spend in the basic sense real? We're talking two different conversations here.
I never said, okay, I get what you're saying, but I'm not inside the club to know how much they pay the cook wage or
No,
the guy
but
that
look-
cut the ground wage. It's not.
But no,
This
no,
is
but
not
that's not,
reported.
again, that isn't what I'm talking about. We're talking about player investment. It's not hard to find out how much you pay in salaries and how much you pay in agent fees. All these things need to be factored in. As I said, the net spend that Real Madrid will put in this year into Mbappe will be zero on the basic format. There's no way they've invested £0 into him as a player. Yeah. They're investing hundreds of millions.
I agree with you here.
So like I say, the basic format of net spend doesn't exist in reality because that means that he's a free transfer and it's costing Real Madrid nothing forever. And therefore, therefore, if you're going to use net spend as a way to manage a manager, you're not going to put any expectation onto Ancelotti because Mbappe's free. It's nonsense. Because
it does exist, but we don't have the full picture. That's the reality. If we had all that information, then we could accurately look at net spend and say, okay, he spent this much on Mbappe, but he sold this much, which offsets that, you know. But again, like you said, so the average fan isn't going to have that.
The reason why we started this is that Terry started adding all the transfer fees for Arsenal versus Liverpool. So he's only factoring what's coming into the club.
I only added it because Flawless was making the point that Arsenal have spent more money.
Flawless fault.
Than Liverpool.
Flawless
not flawless.
Flawless fault.
Lawless said what have they spent. So I looked at what they spent. If Lawless said what they spent on salaries and what they sold, I'd looked at that as well. So I'm just saying, net spend. I'll send you both an article on it. It's not real. Please not the way we think it is. Hello, beautiful. Mwah.
Please
okay, you bored?
Tony Bloom, it's your fault, bro. It's your fault.
Yeah.
This here says Klopp won 6 trophies at Liverpool over 8 years. One was the UEFA Super Cup. Another was a World Club. Only one league over 8 years. Please, let's stop this Arteta sack narrative. Pep only lost out on 3 league titles in his entire career.
Very true. Olisa, very true. That's why a lot of people say Klopp isn't even in the conversation with Pep Guardiola. Isn't even in the conversation with him. A lot of people say that. Some people say pound for pound, aka Hussam. Don Hussam says pound for pound, Klopp is a better manager than Pep Guardiola. I disagree with that. Listen, Pep Guardiola, yes, he gets the money, but Olisa, I agree here. Pep, if you ask the majority of the football fans, would you rather have Pep or Klopp as your manager? I'm talking for myself, and people in the chat can actually contribute to this as well. Who would you rather have as your manager next year? You have 2 choices, Pep or Klopp. Who would you rather have? It's a simple answer. It's one name only. I would, for me, I know who I'm choosing. I'm choosing Pep.
Just for a lot of people, by the way, that think I'm an Arsenal fan, I need to ask my daughter, what football team do we support here?
Manchester United.
Good girl. See? I'll pay you later, baby, all right?
It's not too late to change to West Ham. It's not too late.
You want to support West Ham? No. Arsenal? No. Man City?
No.
What about, can you support, are you allowed to wear Liverpool shirts in my house? No, you know that. Told them they get adopted. You get adopted if you do that, don't you? You get. You go play, sweetheart. All right, I won't be long. You're bored. I won't be long, darling. I know there's no toys here. It's a studio. But you stay there if you want. It's not a problem. Yeah. Like, what do you make of that, Lawless? Because again, Pep very rarely loses out on league titles. Do you think it's fair to judge Arteta in that space?
Well, I think the thing is, okay, we're talking league titles. We're just saying he's got to achieve something. Surely, like there's got to be. If Arsenal fans, and not all of them, but there's a section of Arsenal fans, Potts, who's on this channel, he says, you know, if you don't win anything this season, he's got to be sacked. Like there's got to be a point where, okay, if Arteta's not the man that can beat Pep because Pep is this super manager, then let's try and find someone who can. Let's try do something different instead of let's just keep going with Arteta until Pep eventually leaves, and then we can be expected to win a title. Like Liverpool did it. You know, yes, they done it once, but I just think that's a bad reason to keep a manager just because this manager they're against is so good. You know, at the end of the day.
I think he did his job, though. I think he did his job. He literally did his job.
Yeah. It's got to be really bespoke. You've got to look at it and who's available. Like a lot of Arsenal fans go, get Ancelotti. Ancelotti's not leaving Arsenal or Real Madrid for Arsenal. So you've got to get that right, as it were. Tell is right. Transfer fee / sale is only one factor. I don't know. I think we all agreed. We can have an argument. We're not crying about it. It's all good. Finance is a nerdy thing. 50 million in a 3-year installments is far more than 50 million in 5-year installments. I only care about winning or losing. I understand that, but I do agree with Mo. I think you have to look at what the investments are, how much has been spent, and you have to look at a way of managing that. But there are just there's certain ways of you're not eating that without me being.
The resources aren't the same, Enigma. For example, you aren't giving Arteta or Klopp or David Moyes or Ten Hag the same resources as Pep, for example, or as this guy. So we'll have to judge based on how much you achieve, based on the resources that were allowed to you. It's all about the money is given to you to invest. Like I'm not going to ask you to sell 100 pieces, or not. I'm not giving you even to 50. So it's simple. We have to look at the finances. It's a big factor in football nowadays.
It's a difference, I think, between perspective of overachieving and underachieving. You know, if Arteta hadn't been backed at all and had no income and he gets top 4, well, that's an overachievement based on the squad he had and the investment he was given, but he was massively backed. So really, you expect him, you should be getting top 4. Maybe he slightly overachieved in his first year by challenging for a title. No one expected that, but I think the backing changes the perspective of what a manager's done and how successful they've been.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Is Rice the best DM this season in Europe?
I'm not gonna talk. That's fine.
Yeah.
If I speak, I will be in big trouble. No, I don't think he is. I don't think he is.
Why?
Because I think he's very good as in defensive attributes, and he plays in the Premier League and everything. I think they're, for example, people won't like this. And for example, I'm only judging by the games they play. For example, Inter, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, yes, he plays only in the Italian league. Numbers wise, defensively, he's very close to Declan Rice. Offensively, he's better than Declan Rice. So it's very close. But he has been very, very consistent, in my opinion. Very, very consistent. Arguably the most consistent midfielder in the Premier League, because Rodri has had 4 game suspension, which is a lot of games. And they didn't win these games, Rodri. So Manchester City. So I guess it's a conversation. It's a conversation to be had. But I think Camavinga has been good. There are other players. I don't watch all the leagues, but I watch my league, and I think that Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who hasn't played a DM before, has been very, very good as a DM. He started as a 10.
I just find it hilarious that these come up this season. If I would have said that last season, everyone would have laughed at me, called me deluded, called me biased if I said that Declan Rice was the best DM in Europe. People would have gone out of their mind. He's in an Arsenal shirt now, and everyone's saying it. Everyone's recognizing Declan Rice. Everyone's putting him on a pedestal. I just find that amusing.
You really think he's the best DM in the because he plays?
I'm not saying he is. I'm
Oh
what I'm saying is
I think there's an argument to say he has been. I mean, I would have said
Yes.
last year, yes, I wanted him at Man United. I think he has been one of the best in the world this season. There's no doubt about it. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I think he's demonstrated everything he did at West Ham, and he's doing it in a different club and in a different environment. And a lot of Arsenal fans hated me saying this in the summer, but a lot of them repeat it now. I said you'll want him as your captain over Odegaard, not because Odegaard's not a good captain, but Declan Rice's levels. This man is phenomenal. He really, really is. It brings us on to one of our talking points of today. Can or will Arsenal win the Champions League? And I throw that out as a question. I got sent a tweet today by an Arsenal fan, and the stats show that Arsenal have scored the third most goals, 16, and conceded the joint fewest goals, 4, in the Champions League so far. Mo, do you think they can win it this year?
They have a chance, yes. The Champions League is not as strong as before. Bayern Munich aren't as strong. I think, listen, it depends on the draw. I think they lack experience, but I think they are quality, and I think they can win it. When I mean they can win it, I'm giving Lazio 0 chance. I'm giving PSV 0 chance. I'm giving Real Sociedad 0 chance of winning it, but I'm giving Arsenal a chance. They can actually win the Champions League. And their defense is the thing that can win them the Champions League. Saliba and Gabriel and Declan Rice in front of them has been immense. Probably one of the best defenses in Europe at the current moment. So in my opinion, your defense can win you the competitions. Thomas Tuchel, when he won the Champions League with Chelsea, Frank Lampard didn't have a problem scoring goals, but he was leaking goals. Thomas Tuchel came in and he said, we're shut and shop. You aren't scoring goals against us. And that's how he won the Champions League. So yes, Arsenal can win the Champions League. Where are the favorites? Where are they not? It depends who goes through. For example, Inter played Atletico Madrid yesterday. Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone. If Arsenal played them, for example, I wouldn't say Arsenal are favorites because Atletico Madrid are a very tough team. Man City will tell you this. But they have a chance. 100%. They have a chance of winning it this year. But they don't have the experience. And I'm not going to say I don't think they will win it, but I think they have a chance above about 3-4 other teams in the competition at the moment.
I think that's fair. I will put some context to your earlier point, Terry. Close your ears, Arsenal fans, fingers in ears. But you did say, yeah, they've scored most goals, in the competition, conceded the least goals. They were in the easiest group in the competition, effectively a Europa League group. I just want to put that out there. It was. You can't. Anyone wants to deny that and argue against that, feel free. But will they win it? No. Can they win it? Like you said, definitely. Obviously, it depends on the luck of the draw. Because, if you get favorable draws, like Mo said, the Sociedads and teams like that to get you up to the final. In a final, anything can happen. Anything. So I don't rule out any team in a situation of a final, but I put, Real Madrid above them, obviously, Inter Milan, Man City, Barcelona, Napoli have got a new manager coming in, so they could get the bounce.
No, they're done. They're done.
Well, but we'll see. We'll see. But like you said, maybe there are some teams that I'd put Arsenal ahead of. So it's possible, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely. I don't give them much of a chance, but you never know. You're in it. You can win it.
No,
I
actually disagree with that. Do you believe you can win the league?
Do I think I can win the Premier League? What if I manage the team?
No. West Ham. Do you think West Ham can win the league?
Oh, do I think West Ham can win the league? No, not this season.
Do you think Spurs can win the league?
I mean, mathematically, I don't think they will, but I think there's a small chance.
But you wouldn't give them a chance, right? You wouldn't give Lazio a chance of winning the Champions League, right? Very, very unlikely. That's the point. Our Arsenal have a good chunk, a good amount that they can say, yes, we can win this competition more than a lot of other teams. You're giving them a slight chance. Are you giving them as much chance as Spurs winning the league to win the Champions League?
I would give, and I hate to say it, I would give Arsenal more of a chance of winning the Champions League than I give Spurs winning the Premier League.
Right.
I will agree with that. But Arsenal's track record in Europe is not great. They do not have a good history in Europe. Their credentials speak for itself. And Arteta, obviously, in the Europa League, hasn't done well. Now we're stepping up to the big time. Then when these games have to start, they have to try and manage. I mean, it's a great problem to have, but they have to try and manage being in the Champions League and being in a title race, like Terry said earlier, and playing your best team Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday, all of that. You have to rotate in like that. You know what I mean? So it can come up to catch them, and they've still got that young squad. Everyone says they haven't brought that big experienced player that everyone can look at and go, yeah, been there, done that. He's going to guide that them players through.
What's really interesting is tonight's game. They've gone out in the last 7. I mean, they got to the semi-finals in 2009, the quarterfinals in 2010. And then in the next 7 consecutive seasons where they were in the Champions League, they went out in the round of 16 every single time. So I think getting through this round for Arsenal, I think from a mentality point of view I know that I don't think anybody from 2017 is still at the club. I doubt it. Xhaka's probably the last one. No. So you're not going to have any direct memories of it, but the fans will feel that anxiety, and fan opinion seeps into the dressing room. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Getting through this round, I think, will give them, the manager and the fans, a lot more confidence, because it's breaking that, we always fail at the last round of 16. You get through this round and it changes. I think, again, playing at their best capacity, there's only 2 or 3 teams that are in this tournament that I would say are better than Arsenal. But we all know that actually playing the games under the lights, under the pressure, especially away from home, how good you are at football is only a part of it. Handling that pressure is key. And I think that Arsenal can win it. Strangely, I feel like the leagues are always harder to win. Leagues are harder to win than any cup competition that you're in. And weirdly, I feel like they've got more chance winning the Premier League than I do the Champions League, just because they've been there and done that, and they've been in title races. This is their first year back in the Champions League. Maybe I feel different next season, but I still think they're going to go quite deep. I think they're going to be a semi. I think, barring the draw, I think they're going to be semi-finalists this year. I think they'll be semi-finalists.
Do you think they should prioritize the league? If that's what you say, no, I don't think so. I think if you reach a semi-final of Champions League, I think you should go both strong in both. But I think the Champions League and semi-final, I think you have a big chance of winning it. If you reach a semi-final, now anybody can win it at this time. Anyone.
True.
Anyone can win it.
The easiest thing for them would be to, if they went like a good few points behind the league, enough to, say, yeah, we're unlikely going to win it. Let's go. Kind of like Mourinho when he was going for top 4 and then he had Europa League and he looked and said, no, all right, top 4, we'll give up on that. Let's go all out on this Europa League. But they're too close at the moment to do that to the league, I think. So for them to have a better chance, they're going to have to prioritize to have a better chance at one. But they're in an awkward situation of you can't, because they have a good chance in both.
Yeah. I think they've got a chance in both, no doubt. Let's look at some of these super chats here. This says, what does West Ham know about playing in the Champions League? Well, Lawless, it doesn't matter who you support. Like, my brother's an Orient fan. He understands football still. Jesus.
Yeah,
that's as condescending as Pep. That's as condescending as Pep was. I'll tell you.
I could just go and choose to support a top club like you did. I could just choose to support Man City, and then you can say, "Oh, well, I know I'm a Man City fan." It's that easy.
When I picked Man United, West Ham were better than us. I'm just going to put that out there in the 80s. So. I'm just putting it out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you knew there was no way we was going on to be this.
Yeah. In fairness, I only really picked. There was a few reasons. Beckham grew up where I lived, and he was there, and it was all in our school. But it was more to do with I've got like older brother, and then I had a lot of uncles and cousins that are a lot older than me that were all Liverpool fans, and I think I kind of partly went down the United route. And I remember being about 5. And them laughing at me, being Fraser's, them laughing. Hey, you know where you are. Your manager's about to be sacked. Talking Fergie. Oh, what happened in the next 20 odd years is amazing. I think about the football gods, and I always think back to that family barbecue being laughed at for picking Man United. They're all Liverpool fans, and then what happened for the next 25 years is great. If Arsenal get a draw like Inter last year, then yes. Maybe. Oh, an easy draw.
Maybe.
Porto, Arsenal this evening in the Champions League. Come on, you Gooners. It's going to be an interesting one, especially after what Costa, the goalkeeper, had to say as well. it's not just beating Pep, it's beating Man City as an organization.
That's
True.
pretty, yeah, they have one of the best world-ranked clubs. So yeah, Tony, it's not only about that; it's about beating them.
Jamie here, talk about net spend, says he's an Inter fan. They only sign free agents.
Yeah, we only sign free agents, but we win the leagues and we win trophies. What do you know about that?
You do. You do. Oi, 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 oi. Let one off. Blame Arsene Wenger for fans becoming accountants talking about net spend because he didn't believe in spending. I used to say this though in that era when everyone used to celebrate good net spend because I used to think it was real as well, real in the way it's used, that is. And I used to think, well, you only generally back then, you only really had good net spend if you didn't invest enough or you lost all your best players. So I never understood why anybody celebrated it, like the top teams, if that made sense. It was like, but you're losing your best players. Why you celebrate? It's changed now because teams have different methods. And I will read out the line from this Guardian article that speaks about it. I've sent you boys a link. And it states, net spend is not as important as fans may think. This is what it says. It went, despite what you may have heard, net spend is completely irrelevant to how big clubs do business and is not something they consider when calculating player costs. And then it breaks it all down. This was done in 2016. This was honestly, it was eye-opening when I read it. But still, people love net spend. This is not you, Mo. A lot of people love it if their club's got that good net spend because it's a comfort blanket if they're not winning. So it's always been. And that's why people don't want to let go of the myth that it isn't used in that way at clubs. But if I don't have good net spend, I don't have an excuse as to why I haven't won as many trophies as Man United or City.
No, but do you know who does it now? Man City.
That's why people love it.
Man City fans.
Yeah, it was another mode that loved net spend. He loved talk about net spend. Shout.
The irony is, I swear, man's an accountant. He's an accountant. It's crazy. It's crazy. Arteta has opposed opposition fans rattled, sack him for coming second or third to the best Premier League team in history. Well, they're not. Man United are. But Arteta is just getting started, is what VIP Studio says here.
Arsenal fans are saying the same thing. He should be sacked. So.
Kai Havertz scored a Champions League winning goal. Never forget. Yes, he did. He could do it again this year. You never know. Arteta should be sacked if he wins nothing.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope. Not true.
Yeah, I agree. On paper, who has the toughest last 10 games?
Arsenal. 100% Arsenal. You face Brighton away. You face Man City away. You face Spurs away. And I think you face Man United away. So you definitely have the toughest fixtures coming up. So yes, Arsenal, you do have the toughest fixtures coming up. Like, believe it or not, it is what it is. You play Man City at the Etihad, and they play Liverpool at Anfield, but they don't have as.
This is when Pep is going. When Pep is going, this is how he. I think he means when he's going. This is how he behaves every time. Watch him in Spain, Germany. He goes strange before he is caught. Before he calls it a day, and it starts with the press.
Oh wow!
I'd love him.
You think Pep is leaving?
I'd love him to leave.
We've seen it before him, though. This isn't the first time.
Yeah, he isn't leaving, bro. He isn't leaving.
We all remember. I'm happy, very happy. Happy New Year. We all remember these things. Like, he has done it before. Nothing great was built in ideal situations.
I don't get this.
Something good must have been built in a good environment. Like, Elon Musk has done some amazing stuff recently. Like, and I don't think he's in a bad environment, but yes, I mean, adversity does generate some very good things.
Well, Man City, though, what was ideal about Man City? That's great what they've built, and they had a load of money.
From day one. They even had a free stadium from the council.
Exactly. That's pretty ideal.
Arsenal, City, Liverpool, alongside Madrid, are the best in Europe. As an Arsenal fan, I think we need to win 11 out of 13 games to have a chance of winning it. I think that's fair.
It depends. It doesn't look like it. We keep saying this, and I said that. Looking at Liverpool injuries and Man City's form, might not take that much. Might be less than this.
Guys, look, I want to thank you both for coming on the show. And I'm going to get around to the Moyes subject. I've just run out of time because I've got to get my daughter back to the house. Got to leave the studio now. Guys, absolute pleasure speaking football with you. Nice bit of banter, a good bit of challenge as well. To all of the super chatters, you're absolutely fantastic. To everybody who's hit the like button, big love to all of you. We're live tonight after the Liverpool, Luton and the Arsenal Porto game. So make sure you're tuning into the live match reaction. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.